What's up, you guys?
So you guys really want to know, can this guy come back? I guess that's what we're going to talk about today. That's right. Could Maxx come back into our game? That is one hell of a loaded question. Shout out to you guys. I proposed the question in the community tab, and I got a plethora of answers, ranging from absolutely to not a chance in hell. And we're going to talk about the potential of Maxx coming back, the impact it would have if it would come back, and would it be good if it came back? Now, I'm going to be the first person to say that, yeah, I would like Maxx back. And there is this huge argument with Maxx because if this card were to come back to 1, it would be considered god-awful. And I say that in the sense that not the card would be awful, but the fact that at 1, as you guys remember, when it was last at 1, it could be one of the sackiest one-ofs, if not the sackiest one-of in the game. It has single-handedly won tournaments. It has single-handedly turned the tides of games. And at 1, if your opponent sees it and you don't, they're going to win. They're going to be in an advantage that you're not. And it's pretty crazy. However, if I wanted this card back, it would have to be at 3. And I say that because you need to have the same chance of drawing it as your opponent, and at 3, at least the more consistent you can get to it more consistently is there. That's what I'm saying. Now, a lot of people are going to argue with me against that, and that's fine. But think about it. If this card is at 1 and it's the Saki one of like Soul Charge, all we ever do in deck profiles when we show Soul Charge is that this is game charge. This is like the best card. If I draw this card, I win. Same thing with Maxx. If the card is at 3, you're more likely to see it. It was the same thing with Soul Charge. You're more likely to see it, and you expect it. That's the whole thing. You expect the card to be there. In Japan, they have 3 Maxx. That's what makes their format, in a sense, balanced. They have Maxx so that you can use it against every deck. It's good against every deck, and maybe not Altergeist. But, I mean, I guess you get some value off of it because, like, they go Trap, Chain Faker, you chain Maxx, yeah, you get what I'm saying. But the card would have to be at 3, in my personal opinion, because every player needs to have access to it, number 1, and every player has to have the same chance of, of having access to it, and you need to expect it. I do not want this card back at 1 because at 1, it is such a sacky one of, it's just ridiculous. But those are my personal opinions. I wanted to get them out of the way. Those are just the things I would think. If Maxx were to come back, I would like to see it back. Reason I want it back too is because of all these decks that special summon out the Yin Yang. Now, you guys already know with the new Ghost Sister that we talked about in our last video. Yes, this is kind of like a Maxx, but at the same time, it's just not. Like, you gain life points, so what? Maxx, at least, you draw a card, you can get back into the game. Yes, you can get back into the game with life points, but again, like I mentioned yesterday, your opponent can choose not to do anything when you activate it, so you just lose because you get your life points halved, or they can choose to only summon 1 monster, and that's it, and it's not enough for you to win, etc., etc. The time rules can be abused by that card. Maxx doesn't really abuse the time rules. Maxx makes it to where your opponent has to decide, am I going to give you cards, or am I not going to give you cards? Am I going to push as far as I can, and you're going to draw like half your deck, or am I just going to stop, and, are you going to break even? Those are the reasons why, like, if Maxx were to come back, I think it would be okay. Now, I know a lot of people are going to argue, they'll be like, Slim, hell no, like, this card cannot come back. I'll put it to you this way. When Maxx was around, you played a lot smarter. You did not play as recklessly as you do now. That is the thing that I want you guys to understand, is that with Maxx in the format, we didn't play as recklessly as we do. We did not just summon our entire hand or entire field without, any kind of repercussions. The minute you started special summoning, if your opponent dropped Maxx, you were, you had a fork in the road. Do you go to one side and you keep going? Do you go to the other side and stop? You had a decision to make. These days, the hell, it doesn't even matter. Like, it's like, I'm just going to special summon a million times. You know what? There is no Maxx. You're not going to draw a bunch of cards. You're not going to get a bunch of advantage back. Like I said, even with the new Ghost Sister, it's the same thing. That card can be played around really easily, and Maxx would definitely change the format for sure. So those are my personal opinions. Now I'm going to read your guys' opinions. We're going to talk about how, I guess how accurate or how inaccurate some of these, opinions are. Some people are like, it can and it will, meaning Maxx is going to come back, it will. Maybe it will. We have people that say we have shared ride. Now, that's a very interesting distinction. A lot of people compare Maxx C to shared ride. And yes, this is true, but the difference is you cannot compare shared ride because you're not special summoning. Yes, a lot of decks search. I know this. But if I'm playing Thunder Dragons and I got a Colossus on the board, shared ride ain't going to do nothing because you can't even do anything under Colossus. Whereas if I have a Colossus and a Maxx C, you're going to special summon. I'm just going to continue to draw cards and you're still under my Colossus. So, no offense, I don't think shared ride is a good way to compare the cards. Yes, it does do the same thing in the sense that if your opponent adds that many cards, but comparing how many times you special summon compared to how many times you add, it's just not the same. But again, personal opinion. I wouldn't compare it to shared ride. The only reason people thought shared ride was like Maxx C was against Sky Strikers and Trickstars with all the cards they would add. But these days you can't really even go as far to say that they're same card. Next we have, yes, we have a person that says yes. And the reason is it will help slow the game just a bit because the player now has to think whether or not they want the opponent to get a 15-card hand, turn 2. I feel it can come back, but that's just my opinion. So again, just like I said, you can decide to push through it. Your opponent draws a plethora of cards, and hopefully you set up a board that wins you the game. Or if you're going for game, hopefully you push for game with that. If you can do that, I can't tell you how many times I've played through Maxx C to win the game, or my opponent has played through my Maxx C to win the game. When Maxx C is dropped, it is not the end of the game. It does not guarantee a winner or a loser, but it definitely can be played through, and it can be a card that if it's played through properly and your opponent just draws nothing, like, you know, you can win. Remember that. You could draw absolutely nothing with Maxx C. I've been there. You would draw nothing, and you just lose. So remember, it comes with its own pros and cons. Next we have, now I really like this one. They said this is an unoriginal answer. Maxx C only exacerbates the problems in Yu-Gi-Oh! By being one of those lingering hand traps like Lancia, especially making it a pseudo floodgate. This game would need to reset back to hat format for Maxx C to be even remotely fair. That's interesting. Now, the reason why I say that is because in hat format, there wasn't as much special summoning. Yes, there was soul charge and stuff like that. But you guys realize, like, if they soul charge for 5, you Maxx C, you only get 1 card off of what they bring out from the graveyard before they continue to make their plays. So, in a sense, Maxx C was a little more balanced. It didn't, you know, it didn't, like, actually, you know, net you, like, a ton of cards. Whereas, like, these days, God, the minute one summon happens, it's crazy. So, just remember that. Other people say absolutely for all the warrior shenanigans that you need at least 2 hand traps or the correct specific outgoing second. Maxx C cuts all out by itself, checks those decks and others. Also Call by the Grave exists, so there's that. Very good point. Call by the Grave can answer Maxx C. And I know what you guys are thinking, why did that card come back to 3? I'm telling you guys, with all the hand traps that are flying around, I don't think Call by the Grave is a bad card. Like, you need to counter those hand traps. You need to be able to counter those hand traps. But that's just my opinion. Like, same thing with Maxx C. My opponent drops Maxx C, I got Call by the Grave. Guess what? Your Maxx C don't work. So, just one thing to remember. And then remember this. If you Call by the Grave your opponent's Maxx C, and then it gets back to your turn, you know, you can't use Maxx C because of Call by the Grave. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, and you have to remember that. I think a lot of people forget about that. But a very, very good opinion. I completely forgot to mention that with Call by the Grave at 3, Maxx C coming back at 1 or whatever numbers. Like, there is answers to it. Other things people will say, I'd like to have it back, of course. Absolutely, Gumblar would be irrelevant, and number 86 would be outed by XYZ Encore after going plus 20. I don't know if that's the real fact. I still don't like XYZ Encore that much, but I mean, good point. OCG has 3. That's proof enough if it can come back. Maybe. Like I said, OCG does have 3, and I mean, their format keeps going, so just saying. It says, if we can have decks like Rongo Bongo and Solomon Greats in the next month, the special summon a certain amount of times, I think having Maxx C come back would be a good thing. It said I also bought 3 copies, so that does help. Very true. Any deck that just over abuses special summoning, yeah, I mean, Maxx C is, the cure for that, I guess. I don't even know if the cure is the word, but Maxx C is an answer to that, and that is true. If all these decks are going to special summon a ton, being able to have a counter or have a card that can keep up with that. I like Maxx C because it helps you keep up with your opponent with what they're doing. So there's that. Some people think Maxx C is the most balanced hand trap ever created. I won't go that far. I think Maxx C is pretty crazy. Yes, and here's why. Which probably balance everything everyone would say yes, this is why it should come back. The one reason why it should come back is it balances out and can help fix the game. Yeah, a lot of people say it would balance the game. I don't know if balance is the right word, but it would definitely put a lot of decks in check. So, another good point. One person said no. Now here we go. Here's a reason why they said no to Maxx C coming back. This single card will swing and change an entire metagame. If your deck can play through or around Maxx C, then your deck is good. But if your deck can't, then it is bad. This means decks have to be built with Maxx C in mind. Very true. When we built our decks before with Maxx C around, we built them in the mindset that, yes, I will have to play through Maxx C. So there you go. If you need to build your deck around Maxx C, you have to build your deck around Maxx C. But again, the card could definitely change the way the game is played. And that is one thing about it that I will agree. A lot of people don't want it to come back because it really does change the way a game is played. So think about that. A lot of people say yes. I think it does more harm than good. Here we go. So there's another person that puts players on edge. Should they stop their plays after getting hit with Maxx C? It won't allow players to explore their deck, and not being able to play cards doesn't make good for any TCG. That's a very good point. I think a lot of people don't even think about that. When it makes you stop, it makes your deck stop doing what it wants to do. You are not actually playing the game you want to play because a card stopped you. So very interesting. In a sense, it's like a floodgate. Floodgates stop you from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Maxx C, in a sense, would probably stop you from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! So again, very good point, you guys. It got banned before Call by the Grave existed. Plus, there's Ash, Joel, Strike, just to name a few answers. So yeah, there's all the ways you can stop it. You can Ash Maxx C. I've done it before. I've had it done to me. Remember that. People say it depends on the format. That is the key word. It depends on the format. As for now, it would hurt Danger, Dark Warrior decks massively. As annoying as they aren't the best decks. Decks like Sky Striker and Altergeist wouldn't really be affected that much if the entire format is just spam Maxx C. Could come back for now, stuff like that. So, okay, so depending on the format, yes, it's decent against strikers, though. Like, it's not too bad. They go Ray, activate effect, you know, you do that, and then they have to decide, okay, if I go into Kagari, do I not go into Shizuku at the end phase so that you draw more cards? So, other things to think about is that, yeah, Altergeist doesn't really even do it. Like I said, yeah, it's good against Faker, but that's about it. And, like, some other cards, but you don't really get that much advantage off of playing it against Geist and strikers, but, I mean, you know, to each his own. Everyone wants it back. And then, yes, back to 3 or 0. 100% agree. Yes, back to 3 or 0. I don't want it back at 1. I only have 1, but I'd have to pick up 2 more. I don't want it back at 1. So just remember that. Pendulum, they said because of pendulums, because of everything. And then here we go. Yes, 3 Call by the Grave, 3 Joel, 3 Ash. Solemn Strike is at 3. There are so many ways to stop Maxx C in a competitive scene. Almost everyone run at least 3 Ash and 3 Call by the Grave in their deck. In OCG, it's known as 3. It's very different, but if they can play with Maxx C, why can't we? Exactly. Like, you know, you guys are giving very good points. A lot of people think that with it back at 3, it would definitely, you know, change up the game for sure. Would it be a positive thing or a negative thing? And it one thing one person said is Maxx C creates unwinnable games. At least nowadays, both decks love to explode turn 1. Either you take the challenge and give your opponent every single card they need to beat you, or you stop and they explode turn 2. I love Maxx C's, but some people still think it could stay banned. Those are just some of your guys' opinions. I personally, if Maxx C comes back, I'm ready. If Maxx C doesn't come back, I'm still ready. What about you guys? This was your guys' doing. Shout out to you guys. I read off some of your opinions. Thank you to all of you who contributed. Again, if you like these discussions, give me a like. I know these are different than the usual videos, but personally, and maybe I'm biased, I would be okay if Maxx C came back. I have played in formats where Maxx C was at 3. I have played in formats where Maxx C is at 1. Maxx C sucks at 1 because if your opponent sees it, you don't see it, you usually lose. And it sucks. It's a Saki 1-of. Do I think we'll ever see Maxx C back at 3? Maybe. Do I think it'll be anytime soon? No. Time will tell you guys. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But overall, I think Maxx C could come back one day. Could it come back at 3? I would hope so, because I don't want it back at 1. But what do you guys think? If you guys want to destroy me in the comments, by all means. If you think I'm out of my freaking mind and I need to just, you know, go away for wanting Maxx C back, that's your opinion too. But what do you guys think? Can Maxx C come back? If it did, would you want it at 3? Would you want it at 1? Do you want it to not come back ever again? Does the card break the game? Does the card make the game more balanced? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Can Maxx C come back? That's the question, you guys. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up. Shout out to all my Patreons. You guys are amazing. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.